Will you tell us what a college navigator does?
So as a college navigator, I work individually with students to help them get back into school. And these are students who have stopped going to school for whatever reason, want to go back and finish their degree. And so we walk them through the process of re-enrollment, helping us understand why they stopped to begin with, and then what we can do to help prevent that in the future. Then we help walk them through the financial aspects of going back to school, deciding on a school and a program, and then understanding what they need to do to actually get back in. And then we support them all along the way.
What would a typical day as a college navigator be if you had appointments or you were going to visit students?
So typically I'd start my day checking emails from students, getting back to them, answering questions, letting them know, hey, this is where you can find this information, sending them links, that kind of thing. And then off to meet students, maybe for an intake or to check in about a meeting they had with the school, or go with them to a meeting they have with the school to discuss financial aid or their next class schedule, things like that. I'm also just talking through how to manage all the feelings that come with going back to school, because there's a lot of emotion involved. And so just talking to them about how they can make this happen, what it might look like, and what's best for them.
I'm glad you mentioned communication. How important is communication for this population of students?
This is so important because a lot of our students either have been misadvised or they just feel like no one is listening to them, or they don't know where to go next, and they just need someone to check in. So one of the things my students say to me all the time is, thank you for checking in. Even if I don't get back to you, it makes them feel so valued to know that someone is there kind of checking in with them, and me letting them know as much as I can what they can do, how they can do it, and where things go from here up front is really helpful. So being really on top of communication with our students is really helpful to them as they navigate this process, especially because there can sometimes be a lot of shame associated with not finishing. So I want to be as encouraging, as communicative as possible.
What do you love about your job?
The students, because they're so sweet and so fun, and they really want this, and they just need someone to say, I believe in you as much as you believe in you, or maybe even more, because they're not sure how they're ever going to do this. Yeah. And they have just been kind of the most fulfilling part of the work that we're doing with Redegree, and just seeing them get where they want to go, talking to them about the benefits of what they're doing and all their hard work. It's just been really fun.
Great. Walk me through the process of getting started with Redegree. So you're some college, no degree, you see a billboard or a commercial, what's your next step?
You'll go to our website, redegreespartanburg.com, click on Chat with a Navigator, fill out a quick inquiry form. That inquiry form is really just basic information about where you've been, maybe some of your goals, what schools you've attended, so we can help you navigate finding transcripts. And then either myself or Kevin will get back to you, that one of the navigators will get back to the student and schedule an intake meeting with them, help them get the required documents, transcripts, resume, make sure they're a resident of Spartanburg, and then meet with them in person to walk through what I tell students may feel like a million questions that we ask to gather as much information as we can, so we know exactly where to help the student walk. I tell students I'll give them a little information during that intake meeting. If that doesn't work, we'll get some more so that they don't feel overwhelmed by the process. And then we just keep up with the student as much as they want to communicate, as much as we can check in with them to get them back into school. A lot of times we'll see students have issues that are pending that are keeping them from going back organically on their own. So balances that they have with the school previously, or they're just not sure who to talk to or how to even get their previous transcripts to know how to make a decision on how to move forward. Those are some of the initial barriers that students come in with, and we'll have to have conversations about how do you resolve a past balance? Oh, I didn't realize I could make a payment plan, things like that, and then helping them navigate, this is where you get your transcripts, what your school options are. I've been surprised at how many people, even though there are 7 colleges locally, don't know what those are, and needing to kind of figure out what their options are and what's at each school, and that's been really helpful too in the very beginning of the process. And then along the way, students will come back after our intake meeting and say, I didn't realize how much time this would take. I need some help really sitting down and figuring out how to manage my time because I've got kids and work and now school and life. And I tell everyone, if you're not showered, fed, and gone to the grocery store, you can't keep this rolling. So we want everything they add to their life to be sustainable. And a lot of times they just want to keep talking about that.
You created a goal setting worksheet that we give to all of our students. Tell me why you created it and what your students typically use it for.
When you look at that worksheet, I tell students it's really easy to have a goal or an idea in mind of where you want to go, but this goal setting worksheet dials in really specifically what the student needs to do to get there, or what plays into that goal, and kind of helps them create what's called a SMART goal without actually doing that. So it asks them things like, okay, you have this goal, when are you going to get it done? Why is it important to you? What strengths do you have that play into that goal? And then I tell them there's a roadside assistance section, which is really just what could go wrong, what could happen that you're nervous or worried about, and then what are you going to do if that happens? Just like we wouldn't stop and never do anything again because our car got a flat tire. We kind of know what would happen or what we would do, even though that's really stressful. And so dials in and plans ahead to help them finish that goal, so we don't run into problems like they did last time when they couldn't finish school. And then helps them set some next steps for that goal so that they have some tangible, this is what I'm going to do to get there, as they walk along that path.
What would you tell someone who sees this and is still afraid to take that first step and work with Read Agree?
The thing I tell students all the time is that it's okay if you're nervous or worried or scared to do this. You've got people in your corner, that's now me or Kevin or your navigator, to help you move forward. And it's okay to do things scared. It's okay to not be sure if you can do this and just take some steps to see if it's possible, because I think you'll find that if you take some steps, the further along the path you get, the closer you are and the easier it'll feel. Dr. Smith, as our director, what for you defines a good week at work within the Read Agree program?
I think a good week at work is one where we are completely focused on student needs. So I love whenever we get to do tabling events or presentations, because that's our first introduction to potential students. And so we get to talk to them and encourage them to reach out to us and encourage them to go to our website. And then when I have a student to reach back out to me and say, oh, well, I'm doing well in classes, or I got an A, or something like that. Something else is when we feel needed. So I had a student text me this morning saying, hey, I need to run a few things by you. Can we schedule a time to meet? That's awesome, because we do get ghosted sometimes, and we had to learn really early on to not let that hurt our feelings. It still hurts sometimes, but when we feel needed, I think that means we're doing our job. We have built confidence, because Read Agree was a brand that didn't exist a year ago. And so now we've built it up and we've put some street cred behind it, and people can kind of trust us when we get to see the fruits of that labor come back to us in students, in inquiries, in opportunities to present. I think that's a good week at work.